All right, welcome back to another Revival podcast. Super excited this week to have Kyle Christensen. I think you are actually our first non-Revival employee or sales rep guest
Really?
on the podcast.
That's cool.
Podcast is pretty new. This is only episode. What episode is this? Even like 10 or something. So yeah, we're super excited to have you on. And but yeah, I guess to start us off here, let's get a little bit of background on you, Kyle. First, I'll kind of introduce you as how I got introduced to you. So I know Kyle from actually my aunt and uncle, who I very much respect and look up to as far as finances go. They're very well off, and when we started to make a lot more money doing sales, me and my wife reached out to them and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing with your finances? Because I know you guys are doing pretty well." And she had grown up, went to high school with you. Was that right?
Her brother.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So we kind of got introduced that way. Started meeting with you, and we were looking for a financial advisor or planner that could like tell us where to put our money because we just didn't know where to put our money. And that's not at all what we got. We got something way better, right? Someone that could come in and just teach us very sound financial principles, and then we could make decisions for ourselves with that very clear filter and criteria on how to use our money. So that's how I got to know Kyle, and it's been an awesome journey. But let's go back a little bit further than that. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the whole finance world.
Well, first, it's an honor for me to be here and to be your first non-revival Windows rep on the podcast. So I appreciate that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
no problem.
I'm sure there'll
Thanks for
be.
flying in.
Well, I'm happy to do it. It's awesome. Um, and yeah, the client of mine that's your relative, I've worked with them for a lot of years, and they're just awesome people. So
Yeah, they're really good.
them talking to you, I think, is the best compliment that I can get from them is a referral. So, and I'm glad that the expectation of what you were thinking was going to happen was different than what actually happened.
Yeah, for sure.
So my background, I actually have kind of a similar story to you because you were in a totally different career before going into sales and you shifted gears. I was going towards becoming a physical therapist.
Oh,
So,
really?
yep.
I was
So,
actually doing that for a while too. That was my original
yeah.
path before I shifted to like nursing and stuff.
So my bachelor's degree from Utah State is actually in exercise science, and so that's my major, and then my minor was financial planning,
Nice.
personal financial planning. And at the time, there was actually no college in the state that had financial planning as a major. So it was unique. And then it was also unique in that Utah State was the only one that was accredited with the CFP Board of Directors
Uh-huh.
with their courses. So I was
That
able to
that
knock
alone
those
actually
out.
tells you a lot about the financial world. Like no colleges had
Yes.
financial planning as a major. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's wild. So yeah, none of them in Utah were taught financial planning as a major. That wasn't one of the options. Um, so actually, kind of a little bit of a story with that. What changed my direction? I was working at Macy's grocery store, which is a grocery store here in Utah,
Yeah.
and I was in the meat department. And one day I was working, and one of my former church leaders came by, and he's like, "Hey, do you remember when you asked me about what I did for a living?" And I said, "I'll tell you after you serve your mission." And I said, "Sure." And then I was like, I totally forgot about it. But he ran into me at the store, at the grocery store, and of course I was making almost nothing, and I
Yeah.
was married at the time, and we were just kind of scraping by poor college students, right?
Right.
So he said, "Do you want to find out more about what I do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, for sure." So, long story short, he was in the financial industry, financial services, specifically life insurance, and he worked for a company called Guardian. And so, as he told us a little bit more about that, my wife and I met with him, and I felt like it was kind of a joint decision, for me to do that. But I still was thinking physical therapy, like that's what I'm going to do for my career.
Right.
But as I got more into that direction, I found myself being very interested in money and finances. And I read a book that came out close to that time. So I got married in 1998, and Rich Dad Poor Dad came out in that same year. I think it was 1998.
Wow.
And so it was very popular, like, and that was a book that I started reading. And as I read it, I was like, holy cow, this makes so much sense. And, in my own personal experience, I saw that my dad got married and divorced a bunch of times and was really bad with money, and money was always stressful. And so I had a lot of examples around me of what not to do financially.
A lot of poor dads.
A lot of poor dads. And reading Rich Dad Poor Dad put all the puzzle together for me. And so as I was going along, working for Guardian to start with, number one, I was pretty successful to start with, and in sales, right, which is pretty awesome. And I just found myself being more and more interested. Like, yeah, why would I do physical therapy when I could do this? I know that I'm interested in this. I really love it, and I can be successful at it. So that's what kind of launched me down the path of being a financial planner.
That's cool. Yeah, it sounds very similar to my path. The medical field or this, both are great. Love them both. This one's probably going to get me to my goals a little bit faster than this route, right?
Yeah.
That's really cool. So thanks for sharing that background. My question is, when you jumped into the whole life, I guess, sales at the time, right, with Guardian, was your first exposure to the financial planning world the same lens that you view finances now and the lens that you teach it through? Or did you start on more of like a kind of a traditional mindset as you learned it and then shift?
I honestly, I think because of the timing of Rich Dad Poor Dad, I from the beginning had a different lens than I think the traditional planning world was already teaching. So I knew that my own personal philosophy about money was already kind of contradictory, because I'd go to meetings, they'd have sales meetings and they'd have product meetings and whatever. And I found myself like doubting and questioning, and I knew that they didn't like that. I could see that they didn't like it.
Sure.
But I don't know. I just knew that Robert Kiyosaki was right about that stuff, and there was something conflicting about the traditional planning industry. So, like where I am now with the clarity that I have on my whole philosophy versus the start, I mean, it's vastly different. Like I was just touching the tips of the iceberg at the time.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. So, I guess going from starting over at Guardian, how to where you're at right now, you have all these principles that you teach people. Like, what did that look like, and how did you develop these principles that you teach people and to say, hey, this is the core of finance, and this is how you should live your finance life?
Yeah. So, for sure, the very beginning, if you could see exactly what I did or how I did it at the very beginning, you would see that it was very product focused. It was like, here's this great tool, and this is why you might want it. This is how it might be beneficial to you. But I didn't have a full comprehensive view, but that's always what I wanted, actually. So at Utah State, I finished all the courses required by the CFP Board of Directors. And so by the time I graduated in 2001, and then in 2003, because the CFP board required a certain number of years of experience before you could even sit for the exam. And so I did that. And so 2003, I took the exam and passed it. And so my intent was always to be more comprehensive. I didn't want to be just a product salesman.
Right. Which probably, what would you say, like percentage wise, in the insurance market, just taking that small market in and of itself, what percentage of those reps selling that product are product salesmen versus
Yeah, and I would
selling
say
a principal?
any product. So you could pick life insurance, or you could
Mm-hmm.
pick auto insurance, or you could pick, managing assets in the market, right? Um, I would say that it's by far the majority. I mean, more than 90% who are not financial planners, and they are, and they may say they are, which could be another part of the
Right,
conversation,
right.
but but their actions are, come in, we'll help you with your quote planning, but I'm going to show you this product,
Yeah, I'm
or
gonna
I'm
sell
going
your
to,
product.
yeah, or I'm going to just show you the investment account that you can set up,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it's to say like how many people cover all of financial planning, which if I were to say what is financial planning, I would say it covers every aspect of your financial life. So from how you earn your income, your your insurances, your legal entities, your debt, your savings, your investments, everything, taxes, right? Estate planning. That's all financial planning, right? And who covers all of that? Almost nobody.
No one, right? No
Yeah,
one.
yeah, almost nobody.
Yeah, that's interesting. As you're talking about getting your, like, what is it, CFP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Certified Financial Planner
Mm-hmm.
license. I can't remember what book it was that I was reading. I think it was one that you'd actually recommended to me that talks about whole life. Lifestyle Investor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Lifestyle
By
Investor.
Justin Donald.
Yeah, great book. And he talked about how um, there's two different like classifications of financial planners. Some of them, like by law, have to do what's in your best interest,
Mm-hmm.
but the majority of people don't actually have that license. Most everyone else has like this different license.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a thing?
So yep, and the
Yeah,
term
tell
is
us a little
called
bit.
fiduciary.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
So
'Cause that was fascinating to me. When I read
yeah.
about that, I was like, what?
So
That's crazy.
there's kind of a bunch of layers to this onion, because so here's the first thing. Can you legislate honesty?
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah.
Like you could put all the laws you want out there, but cheaters are still going to cheat.
Right.
Liars are still going to lie. Right?
Right.
And honest people are going to be honest regardless of whether they have that title or not.
Right.
Right? So the financial industry obviously has a bad reputation. I mean, and a deserved bad reputation.
Right.
And so, the fact that they have to create a title and they have to have a license so that you can say, hey, you can trust me because I'm looking out for your best interest.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to call this fiduciary, which basically means I'm going to do what's in the best interest of my client. So everyone who's a securities licensed person, so somebody who can sell Wall Street products, they're a fiduciary
Interesting.
by their license, right? If you're a certified financial planner, you're a fiduciary. Okay, and basically what that also means is that the court can hold you to that standard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so supposedly, if you're not a fiduciary, and let's say the client sues you, supposedly you could say, well, I'm not a fiduciary, so I didn't have to do what's in your best interest. I did what's in the best interest of the financial institution.
Right. That's crazy.
Now, does a person exist out there that actually sued someone, and because they were a fiduciary, somehow they weren't held liable, or somebody who wasn't a fiduciary wasn't held liable? Right? I don't know that is a thing,
Right.
honestly. You've probably heard of the name Bernie Madoff, right?
I actually haven't.
Okay,
But
so
I'm
Bernie
not very good
Madoff.
with names in general. You ask me about an actor and have me match up their faces, I'll be like, dude, I'm going to lose that game all day long.
Oh, shoot. So Bernie Madoff was a huge scam artist, one of the biggest ever in America's history.
Okay.
And he ran a hedge fund on Wall Street. And Bernie Madoff was a fiduciary. But he stole hundreds of millions of dollars from people. So being a fiduciary, did it change him from being a dishonest person to an honest person?
Yeah, of course
No.
not. Right.
So I think that gets overused. If a financial planner has to call his company Trust Me Financial, then they're kind of begging the question, right? Like, I think that's dumb.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So it makes you question, like if the bank says, even Security Bank, right? Like they
Right.
say Security Bank, because then you're going to feel safer because it's called Security Bank.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. Gotcha. So going back to the principles, okay, that you're teaching, walk us through, just so we have like a general outline as we're talking here, walk us through what the principles are that you teach to your clients.
So, so number one, like having a financial planner that even teaches any principles at all is totally unique. Like, I mean, that's my company name too. Unique
Yeah, it's
Advantage.
like no pun intended.
But no, like if you were to look up 100 websites of financial people, you won't see that word. It's not on their websites. They don't use it. They don't teach principles. So the entire traditional planning world, which is pretty much everybody else, right? They teach products and they teach rates of return and they use calculators to determine what people should do, right? That's why, like when you first initially, you and your wife wanted to meet with me, your initial thought was, well, we want to find out where to put our money,
Right.
right? So I've learned, I think, through other aspects of my life that principles are what drives behavior, and behavior is what produces the results, whatever they are, right? So it's not products. There are no magic financial products. There isn't a financial product out there that's going to make someone rich or financially free by itself. It doesn't exist. So what does make somebody financially free then? And it's the behavior,
Right.
right? And so what I feel was missing, like I noticed was missing very quickly, and Robert Kiyosaki and a bunch of other people that I read after 1999, right? You could see these principles that they were teaching, right? Ray Dalio in his book. Ray Dalio is probably not somebody you know.
Nope.
He's a multi-billionaire. He's one of the most wealthy people in the world right now. But he wrote a book called Principles, and in the very first paragraph of his book, he said, the most important thing I've learned is to base my decisions in principles. Principles tell me what's true and help me figure out what to do about it.
Yeah,
And
it's powerful.
so, yeah. So that's, as I looked at, the American population, the problem wasn't products. The problem wasn't that people didn't want to be motivated. They weren't motivated, to be financially free or whatever. The problem is that they didn't have principles. They don't have the principles. They're not being taught principles. But in all other areas of their lives, in work, like one of the things that I really love about what you do, and I see a lot of your social media posts, you're teaching a lot of principles.
Yeah.
Leadership principles and communication and achievement, all kinds of things, right? Success principles.
Right. Yeah. I was actually when you were talking earlier, this thought came to my mind is like the way that even though one person providing life insurance might be the same product as another person. So you have you and this other guy, same product, but this guy is selling the product as a product. And I feel like what you're doing is teaching these principles, and then this product just happens to be a really great product to apply these principles. And I feel like we kind of do the same thing here at Revivals. Like, purpose of our company is not to sell windows. We do sell windows, and windows are a product, but like actually at its core, Revival is here to like provide the best platform, opportunity, and environment to maximize the human life value of our sales reps and to provide them a really great opportunity. Like, that's what we're after. And selling windows happens to be a great tool to do that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a very similar,
Perfect
similar concept.
analogy. And in fact, there's a really famous author right now, Simon Sinek, and he wrote the book Start with Why.
Oh, I love that book.
Yep.
That's a good one.
And he says that the why is what you want to become, right? It's who you are, right? Your purpose. He says the how are your principles that help you bring your why to life. Okay. And then the whats they should be a natural byproduct of the why and the how.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
the order. And in his book, he talks about the golden circle, right? Remember, in the middle is the why, and the next
Right.
layer is the how, and the outer layer is the
what's.
what. And he's like, well, where do most people start? Where do most companies start?
Outer ring.
Yep, they start on the
Selling the
what.
what, right.
And sometimes they don't even get to the why. And then in his book, he really points out Apple, right? Because Apple's a good example of starting in the middle, or Harley Davidson, right? They almost have a cult following because of it, right? Like
Right.
they're not considered a computer company. Apple isn't. They're just they changed the world company.
It's a status. It's a
And so if we start with the why, and just like you're saying, the products are going to be a natural consequence because they're going to fit with the principle, or they're going to be like, just how do we? It's the natural outcome, right? Just like the combustion of a car is CO2, right? Then it's just the byproduct that comes out of it.
Totally. Yeah, I love that, and I think that's honestly, if we're talking entrepreneurship, that's the best way to build any business, right? Starting with why, then moving on to how, then going to the what, with your what being what an outsider might view the core of the business as, right?
Sure. And they often do. They
but
try
it's just
to.
not that thing.
They're like, you sell windows, and you're like, no, I change lives.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's actually not what I'm selling. But yes, it is a product that is a tool as part of it. It fits well with our why. So that's really awesome. So sorry to kind of cut you off. You're starting to kind of dive into your principles.
Yeah. So obviously there are more principles than the few that we teach people from the beginning.
Sure.
So the initial part of our planning, we call the initial phase of planning. We teach 5 core principles, and in my opinion, they're kind of like bumpers for bumper bowling. Like bumpers.
Yeah.
If you put the bumpers up, they don't make you get a strike every time. You still could not get a strike. I probably would also not get a strike usually.
Yeah.
Even with the bumpers up.
Might even get a gutter ball with the bumpers.
Yeah, if you really try, you could get it over.
I'm just kidding.
So, but think about that, right? What's the purpose of the bumpers? It's just to prevent the ball from going into the gutter. And that's really what these initial first 5 principles are. They are simply to keep the ball going the right direction. And they're foundational, right? Like some of the other principles that you might learn over time, I think are more ancillary, or they get more into the detail, right? Like, so for example, more detailed principles that we teach later are the 3 rules for investing, right? But that's not part of the first 5 core principles, right? So I think it's, there's something about simplicity.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
There's actually a pretty good study done recently, and there's an article that people can look up. It's called The Power of Simplicity. And there's like a simplicity index even that is used for corporations. And what they found actually is that complexity creates distrust, and simplicity increases trust. And so as a business and as a financial planner, I'm taking something that's hugely complex in people's lives, and it covers all sorts of things, right? That people are, for the most part, very uneducated on, right? And I have to try and simplify that as much as possible, but not cut corners. Right. So that's kind of the reason for the 5 principles, right? Is, okay, boil it down to what are the main things we want to cover in the first part, so we can put those bumpers up and get people going the right direction.
Totally. That's awesome. With everything that you teach and kind of your principles and your philosophy around money and finances, what's if I guess the first thing that comes to your mind if you're looking at your philosophies, what's something that would totally baffle like a traditional financial planner if you were to tell them?
We could start with the first one. Principle number one is to save 15% or more. And so I'm sure somebody hearing this right now would just say, everybody says you should save. But they're actually not teaching people to save. Most of the financial planning world is teaching people to automatically invest, and they call it saving. But that's not what saving is. And in fact, in the United States, 61% of Americans have less than $1,000 saved. So
That's
and
just so
you think
crazy.
and you think of the massive amount of credit card debt that we have, that people carry in the United States. What's the cause of that? Why do they have that?
Because they don't have any savings.
That's right.
Something comes up that they either have to buy or pay for,
Yep.
or a lot of people, honestly, it's things that come up that they want to buy
Yeah,
and don't have
that's
money
right.
for, and
That's
they
right.
just throw it on their card. It's
Yeah.
really sad.
So what seems like the simplest thing, and that's a no duh principle, right? Actually is a problem for most Americans. Like they don't save. They don't actually save. And the financial world is partly to blame for that, because they're confusing people about what it means to save. And anybody listening to this podcast could look up the definition of the word save. It says to remove from risk. Okay. Well, if people are, quote, saving for retirement, are they removing those dollars from risk, or are they putting them at risk?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay. So by definition of the word, they're not actually saving. So you were saying what would be a principle that would be a major conflict with the traditional planning world? That's it.
Oh,
Right
yeah.
there, right from the
Butting heads
beginning.
right there. Whip out the dictionary. I was like,
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't write the dictionary, but
yeah.
and they can change. I'm sure they change definitions of words over time, but that's currently what it still says. Is it says it removes from risk to protect, right? And even the word invest, they're actually kind of bastardizing. Can we use that word?
Yeah, that's fine.
But they're conflating that word as well, because what people are doing is not investing either by the definition of the word. So, there's immediately from the very beginning of what we teach clients, there's an immediate divergence in philosophy.
Yeah. What you say, okay, investing or putting money into stocks or retirement accounts, savings accounts, right, are not actually saving, but they're also not by definition investing.
Mm-hmm.
What would you call that?
Well, again, we can rely on Merriam-Webster instead of me, right? So if anyone looks up the word invest, it means to earn a return. And then, so if you look at that key word, earn,
Yeah, earn. What does earn
and
mean,
you look
right?
up what earn, and I think everybody intuitively knows what earn means, because we've all said, we've all looked at somebody getting something, and we've said,
Oh, you gotta
you
earn
didn't
it.
earn that,
Yeah, you gotta earn it.
or
You don't
we
deserve
say,
it.
oh man, they really earned that,
Yeah.
So we kind of intuitively know what earn means, but earn means to get a return based on a service provided or work done. That's what it says by definition. So why am I saying that people putting money in retirement accounts isn't investing? It's because they're not. What are they doing to earn the return?
Nothing.
Nothing. And in fact, I would say that that's why they're doing it, is because it appears that you can put money into something. They're being told, right? I don't even think it's their fault for the most part. They're
Right.
being taught. They're being conditioned to believe that you can put money into something, and with zero effort, zero knowledge, zero control, get money back, more money over time. which what other place do you put money into something and then you just pull the handle and you possibly get more money back?
Only in a Vegas.
Yeah. That's called gambling,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And actually, for a long time, investing in the stock market wasn't even called investing. They called it speculating. They used the
Interesting.
word speculate, which was accurate.
Right.
And it was a rich man's game. It was like betting on horses,
Right.
right? In a horse race. It wasn't something the common man did. It wasn't something that the average person did. In fact, in 1929, when the Great Depression occurred, about 10% is what they estimate. 10% of the American public had money in the stock market. Only 10. So 90% didn't. Today, it's closer to 70% of Americans have money in the stock market.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. So it's a
So
big difference.
what would you say, like, is there a world where investing in a stock is actually investing
Sure.
versus gambling?
Absolutely.
And what does that look like?
I think the most famous and best stock market investor of all time is Warren Buffett.
Yeah, I was going to bring him up.
And you know, interestingly, I did read a biography on him called Snowball. I knew I was wrong. The Snowball. And I can't remember the author's name, but in the Snowball, it just gives a really great detailed history of how he invests. It shows how he invests into a business. So one of his first big investments was an insurance company in Nebraska, by the way. I can't remember the name of the insurance company. I think it was something national. It says in the book, he checked out every book he could possibly find in the library about the insurance business. And he read all of them. Okay, and he did tons and tons of research. And then he, oftentimes with other investments, he gets on their board of directors before he even becomes an investor in it. You know, or he'll do tons of research. How many people are doing that in their 401k?
Oh, yeah. 0%.
Zero. And in fact, how many people in their 401ks and IRAs even know what stocks their money is going into?
Right. I was going to say, I don't think you even can in a 401k.
They can.
Well,
They can
how
find out, but they don't put the effort.
But I mean, can you actually research all of those things? I guess technically, but like it's invested into such a wide variety of
Overwhelming.
stuff. It's like there's no way you're going to
That's right.
intentionally go in and actually learn that business. And I love how you mentioned he actually went in, got on the board of directors in a lot of these investments beforehand, because all that does for him is makes it so that it actually is in his control.
That's right.
It's
Control
no longer
is huge. That's part. That's an element. So real investing always involves an element of control. So that's an important distinction, right? But that kind of kills the deal for most people, because what's so attractive about retirement accounts?
Yeah, zero effort, right?
Yeah, zero
Don't have to
effort.
earn it.
It's the ease, and that's where we get in trouble. So in another book that I'm writing currently, I write in a whole section, a whole chapter about our human tendencies and how they hurt us financially, and how the financial institutions actually kind of prey on those because they know that we want the easy path. We're looking for the easy path all the time. And so they're saying, okay, great. We'll give you the easy path. We'll make it so easy you don't even have to do anything.
That's scary. That is scary. Oh, shoot. I had a really good thought while we were talking, and I'm totally blanking on it. Hopefully it'll come back to me in just a second. But while I'm trying to think of what I had on the tip of my tongue a second ago, take us through another one of your principles.
Let's go to number 2.
All right, let's do it.
So number 2 is regarding protection, right? So people can get insurances, right? Should have insurances, and then they should also have legal protections in place. And it's a very complex area. I mean, you know, almost nobody has read a prospectus for their investment, their mutual fund.
Yeah.
And even less have read their homeowner's insurance policy.
Because it's
So
complex.
yeah, it's complex. It's boring. It's
Yeah.
written in legal terms. So it's written in a
Yeah.
way that even if you read it, you'd be like, I don't even know what that means. Um, and so, there's a lot of reasons why people get it wrong in their protection, and they're in trouble. Like in most cases, they're in severe trouble. I just had a meeting with a client a few days ago, and a friend of theirs who was they live in California, and their friend who was 60 years old, a car salesman, he just died. He had a heart attack. His wife was driving him to the hospital, and on the drive there, he died.
Jeez.
So she pulled over to the side, CPR and everything. He had nothing. He had no life insurance. She's desperate, like has no idea what to do. And I wish I could say that that's uncommon. That's not usually what happens. But actually that's more common. It's the most common. That people are seriously ill prepared for the events of life that can happen. And I've kind of boiled it down to 3 reasons why that is, if you want to know.
Let's hear it for sure.
So so I mean, number one, most people don't think it's going to happen to them, right? That happens to other people. It doesn't happen to me. Other people get in car wrecks. Other people get sued. Other people have their house burned down. Other people lose their business. Other people lose their jobs. Not me, right? And so they just don't think it's going to happen. And that comes back later. We'll apply it to some of these other 2 reasons here in a minute. Another reason is they think it's going to be expensive, right? Like if I get real protection, it's going to cost too much. But here's the thing. If you don't think something's going to happen to you, then how much is too much?
Anything is too
Any
much,
amount.
right?
That's right. So any amount is too much. So generally people are like, well, they know that as an adult and as like if they're married and they're a dad or a mom or whatever,
Yeah.
they need to check the box.
Yeah,
at
out
least.
of obligation, right?
Yeah, they're like, okay, I'm not being responsible if I don't get life insurance. Okay, so what should I get? Oh, $1 million. That's a good round number. Or 100,000. That's enough to whatever. So they start doing that. And then the third reason is that they honestly don't even know what their options are. Like just as an easy example, one of the areas of insurance that we cover with every single client is the area of liability protection. And so we talk about umbrella policies, liability umbrella policies. Well, almost no one that we meet with has one before we talk to
Yeah,
them.
I didn't have one before. I remember that. I was like, what's that?
I know. And it's so funny because the client that I'm working with will go back to their auto insurance agent, because that's where you buy the umbrella policy. And they'll say, this is what I want to get a quote for this. I think I probably should get this. And 9 times out of 10, their auto insurance agent says, oh, that's a great idea. You should get that for sure. And I'm like, wow, like, how come you didn't bring that up? That was your job as the auto insurance agent to bring that up. But they don't, which kind of brings up a 4th reason, but it's not the reason why people necessarily don't get the proper coverage. It's part of not knowing their options, right? In insurance, what do they sell? Like, what are people really buying?
I don't know, the cheapest policy that they
Yes.
can.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I kind of wanted to talk
Yep.
about for a second. That came into my mind as we were talking. I'm like, it is very interesting that everyone you talk to that's going to sell you whatever policy it might be, auto, home, whatever, it's like everyone's trying to give you the cheapest
Yes.
premium that you can, because that's the game everyone plays, because everyone's just like, I think insurance, and I have a lot of like honestly internal conflict with insurance still, because
Sure.
like sometimes I look at it, I'm like, dude, that is just a criminal game they're playing. It's just messed up the way they're playing this game, which probably is some truth to the way that they do that.
Some truth.
Definitely some unfair stuff that they do, but is it a good thing? Absolutely. But what I was gonna say is, is everyone's playing the game of trying to chase that cheapest premium because they view insurance as a negative, like a necessary evil.
Yep.
Right? It's like I'm
By
required.
it's like the definition of it almost.
Yeah, I'm like I'm
insurance.
required to get it, but I don't want to have to pay for it. And they're going to charge me an arm and a leg. So I'm like, if I'm going to have to get it, I'm going to shop around for the cheapest possible one out there.
Yep.
Even when the benefits, they're not comparing benefits, they're only comparing premiums, right?
That's right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. So no wonder people hate insurance, right? Because what do they know about it?
They know it's
They know the
necessary
premium.
evil, and
Well, they know
it
the
costs a
premium.
lot. Yeah.
They know the premium. They don't know the benefits of it. Nobody talked to them about the why. They didn't start in the middle. They started on the outside, right? Even the like lowest denominator, which is the premium, right? It's like, okay, well, we're going to start there, and that's how you're going to base your decision. So the insurance world actually shoots itself in the foot because they do hyper focus on premium, and that's how you're supposed to make the decision. We're the cheapest. We're going to save you all the Geico commercials.
Yeah,
right?
I was about to say Geico.
Yeah.
We could save you 50% or more on car insurance.
but that's a misunderstanding of human nature too, because if price were the only deciding factor, no one would fly first class, right? No one would get lower bowl tickets to the Jazz game. No one would eat at a nicer restaurant. And no one would have a nicer car, right? But people do. And it's because some things matter more than the price. And so, if I could counsel the entire insurance industry, then I would say stop being so focused on the premium. Let the client decide what's important to them. Explain what the purpose of this is, and then they'll decide. I've never had a client say, "Oh, I don't want an umbrella policy because it's going to cost me $200 more or $300 more per year." I've never had a client say that. In fact, they've said the opposite. "Wow, it's only $300 more."
Yeah, I know. It was a surprise. I thought when you were first telling me about it, I thought you were going to say per month. I was like, oh, it was like per year. Wow, that's crazy, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Totally
So I've never had a client tell me they're not going to do an umbrella policy because it costs them more money, which proves the point. It's not just about the premium. And I'm not saying people shouldn't pay attention to the premium or that they shouldn't try and get the right kind of deal, but that shouldn't be the primary focus, because at the end of the day, why do you have auto insurance?
To protect yourself.
Yeah. And so the protection is actually what's most important. And so if you got a policy that cost the best, it was the lowest price, right? But it didn't protect you. You got sued, and the auto insurance wrote the check for $25,000 and they were out. And now they're going after your other personal assets. You're not going to be happy with that.
Right. It's like, well, what's the point of paying for it in the first place, right?
Yep. Or you buy homeowners insurance and it doesn't rebuild your whole house when something happens. Or you become disabled and, you only get 1/10 of your pre-disability earnings. You're really going to be happy about all that? You're only happy. The cheapest policy is only awesome when nothing happens.
Right.
Right?
Right. So going off of that actually brings me up to self-insurance, because that's another very controversial topic, especially in like the sales industry, or you get around a lot of high earners. It's a common theme for them to talk about, once I have enough money, I'm going to drop all my premiums so I don't have to pay those anymore, save all this money, and then if something does happen, I'll just, pay for it myself.
Fund it.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on that?
So we do see the idea of self-insure in the health insurance arena, mostly with big companies. Like I'm thinking of a company that one of my clients works for named Bama Pie. They actually make the apple pies and stuff for McDonald's and a bunch of stuff. So, and the pizza dough for Pizza Hut.
Nice.
Stuff like that. So they self-insure. So they've got, their own program. They actually use a health insurance company to administer it, but it's all self-funded.
Yeah.
The whole thing. So I think in some cases it might make sense.
Sure. Yeah.
But in kind of the cases you're talking about, I think it's
on an individual basis.
Yeah, on an individual basis. I think it kind of goes back to the idea that people are a little bit they overestimate their capabilities. So in a presentation I did recently, I brought up the idea that an interesting percentage of people think that they can outrun a horse or they can outswim a dolphin or things like that. So people are kind of overly optimistic in their capabilities, or they may underestimate, right? What could be the cost of self-insuring, right? What could be the cost of, if I needed serious care medically, they're probably underestimating it.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably. And I know.
I mean,
Unfortunately,
I know. So
how expensive medical bills can be.
yeah, my
Goodness.
one, it wasn't even a overnight stay, was $112,000
Yeah,
for me.
it's like
So
one chemo treatment for Liam is like 60 grand or something. It's like
yeah.
you do that every month, that'll put you out of business real fast.
Yes, and actually that's the entire purpose of insurance is to protect against catastrophic loss financially. So, you know, we've kind of gone the wrong direction in health insurance where people have said they really want health insurance to pay the very first dollar, right? Of like their prescriptions, or I want to go to have an office visit and I don't want to have to pay anything out of pocket, right? So the insurance industry has actually kind of catered to that, which is why our premiums are also outrageous,
Right.
right? So it's kind of gone away from what the original purpose of insurance was, which was to protect the catastrophic loss, and now they're paying for all the little things, and so now we're seeing the outrageous costs, which leads people to want to self-insure, right, to
Right.
save the premium. But in the financial world, where I see self-insurance more often is in the idea of canceling life insurance, um, which is an interesting one for the financial industry to focus on for a lot of reasons. But if you think about all of the insurances you can pay for or all the insurances you can buy, which one is insuring against an event that is guaranteed to happen?
Literally, life insurance is the only one.
The only one. And so it doesn't, to me, that makes me question the industry, right? Here's the black sheep in the industry, right? The contrarian in me, where I'm like, well, why are they telling people to cancel the one that's actually going to pay for sure? And as I've learned and studied and thought about and really, pondered it in my own mind, I've come to some clarity on it. Why do life insurance companies encourage people to cancel their life insurance? Because they do. They do encourage them to cancel it, which is kind of surprising to some people. They're like, well, no, they want us to pay for life insurance for our entire lives. They actually don't. They want you to stop before you die.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right? And
Makes a lot of sense.
And so the type of insurance that they promote the most is term life insurance. It's by far the most popular type of life insurance.
And when you say encourage them to stop it before they die, you mean by selling them something that will expire before
That's
they
right.
die, right?
Or that gets so outrageously expensive
Got it.
that they want to drop it, right? I mean, there's pretty motivating to drop the term life insurance when it goes from $60 to $400
Right.
a month.
Right.
And so that's what will happen. People get squeezed out of the policy because it becomes so expensive. But then you have to think, well, how come investment firms encourage term life insurance? Because they do. It's almost unanimously, they're in favor of term life insurance, and they want you to cancel it. Again, why do they care if a person cancels their term life insurance or not? I mean, why are they even involved? It seems like they're not part of the family, But the reality is they both benefit financially. So the life insurance company is more obvious, right? They don't have to pay the death benefit if the person cancels the policy. And then the money managers, the brokerages, they benefit because when the person cancels their life insurance, what becomes their new insurance? Their retirement accounts, their assets.
Interesting. Yeah.
That becomes their insurance. So they know the human nature, like you're not going to purposely leave your wife with nothing.
Right.
So you're going to try and preserve that, which is
Again,
in their favor.
Keep it in there as long as possible.
That's right. Yep.
That's so interesting when you fully zoom out and really see what's going on. It's like And again, I think you've said this before. It's like, are financial institutions bad? It's like, no.
No,
It's like they're just operating as a business, and they're doing what's in the business best interest, right?
that's right.
Which is fine. That's just like a normal way to operate a business. But it's important for you and I to understand that that's the premise under which they're operating, rather than, hey, I really want to help Kyle
Right.
set himself up for success for when he dies, right? That's
Yes.
just not in their best interest, unfortunately, right?
Yeah. I mean, a good analogy would be: do you want to take medical advice from a pharmaceutical company?
Right.
I mean,
Probably not.
yeah, they have a conflict of interest. Their
Uh,
conflict of interest is that they make money if you're not healthy, right? They make money if you need their medications. If you don't need their medications, then they don't make any money. So
mhm.
that's not their interests.
Yeah. Yeah, it is unfortunate. I think I saw something recently on like Instagram or something where it took a snapshot of like the medical remedies and ways that they treated people to cure them from sicknesses a while ago, like back before like the big wigs in the financial institutions got behind the medical field and the pharmaceuticals.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like obviously there were some like weird, like wacky stuff back then. Obviously they didn't know what they're doing, but a lot of it was like very basic, like, oh yeah, that actually like makes a lot of sense. Like spend time out in the sun, like that's healthy for you. Like
Yeah,
like do these things, like exercise. But then like as soon as the financial institutions and people that were very motivated by money entered that medical field and the pharmaceuticals came out, it's like the medical field shifted completely. And a lot of it is amazing, right? A lot of
right.
it's amazing. We're super grateful for pharmaceuticals and drugs and all that stuff. But they do walk that fine line. It's like they are obviously operating in their best interest, which is to keep making money and continue
Right.
to provide prescriptions for people.
Well,
So,
we kind of saw, not to go off on too much of a sidetrack, but we saw this very clearly during the pandemic, right? Where the companies who made the COVID medications uh, were actually saying kind of that natural immunity didn't even exist anymore, and they were trying to tell us not to go outside and get the sun, like, and all of these things at the end of the day were actually, throughout all of history before then,
mhm,
was helpful.
right. Yeah, it's interesting stuff.
So it's like, no, but we want to sell these vaccines.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. That is crazy. It's just important for everyone to understand how people are behaving and why they're behaving in that way,
right,
and what's behind the curtain, right?
right.
And we
And
need to,
again, like you're saying, we're not
mhm,
saying financial institutions are bad or evil,
right,
but they are working in their
right,
self-interests.
right.
And so it's good to know what their
Yeah,
self-interests are. And
and they can be good tools,
yep,
right? It's like I use a bank,
yeah,
I use a bank for all of my money, and it's a great tool,
yeah,
but it's only a great tool when you understand how to use it and how they're operating, so you can make the best possible decisions.
right. So, I mean, I've had clients say, well, why don't I just do what they're doing with the money and not use them? And insurance is a good example, right?
Hmm.
So life insurance as an example. Um, why why using them is beneficial versus trying to do it on our own? Well, number one, they're multi-billion-dollar companies. We're not multi-billionaires. Some of them are trillionaires,
Right,
the companies. And so they can invest in things that just aren't even possible for us to invest in.
right,
Number one. And then number two, there's something called the law of large numbers. And so statistics, for those who are statisticians that might listen to this, they'll love this part, right? Statistics don't apply actually to you and I individually very much. Like we can't say, well, there's a 50% chance that I'm going to become
right,
disabled or
right,
30% chance in my working career. No, you're either going to or you're not. Like it's going to be yes or no.
right,
Um, but if you're an insurance company and you insure thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, you can use an economic principle called the law of large numbers, and they can actually predict how many people are going to become disabled in that group and for how long. They don't know which ones specifically,
sure,
but they can predict with pretty good accuracy how many people are going to become disabled or people who are going to die
And at what age
certain
they're going to
ages.
die.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep, exactly.
for sure. That makes a lot of sense.
And we can't do that. And there's an economic benefit to them being able to do that. So in other words, we can't self-insure on that. We can't be like, well, I'm just going to invest in the things they invest in. Well, you still don't have the law of large numbers on your side.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually really fascinating to understand how they operate and how they make money and how that works. It's just, it all has to do with statistics,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like you pay this many people, and statistically, this many people are going to die by this age, which means that I will have enough money to pay out all these people
That's right.
and take some for myself, which is
Yep.
great. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I think we're kind of wrapped up on time. We could honestly spend just
You could go
hours
forever.
talking financing. I love talking finance. It's just such a fascinating topic, and there's so many pieces to that puzzle. So everyone out there listening, Kyle, what's a good way to get in touch with you if they're interested in just learning more?
Well, I'd recommend people go to our website. It is www.uniqueadvantage.biz, B-I-Z. That's the best way. And there's a contact form on there that they can fill out if they want to learn more. But there's quite a bit of content on the website and goes into more detail on a lot of our philosophy and the principles that we teach.
Great.
And I think if that connects with whoever's checking into it, then they should reach out.
Cool. And just to clarify, Kyle does not charge for his services, just meets with you, teaches you financial principles, or someone on your team, right?
Right.
Teaches you the principles, answers your questions, helps you make best decisions for your use case, following those principles, which is pretty cool. But thanks for coming on.
Thank you. It's awesome. Thank you.